because obviously you couldn't have a joint occasion of the Prime Minister and the Chancellor and the Secretary of State all appearing at the dispatch box simultaneously, could you? Because that's not how how we
you
work.
could have had that after.
You could have had that after, and look, that's something we constantly sort of stress test and consider, like the logistics of that. The perhaps the reverse of that would be that obviously parliamentary business is not as predictable. So let's say that day there'd been a press conference with the Prime Minister and the Chancellor and the thing at a hospital kind of nearby London, booked in at 2:00, and 2 urgent questions had been granted, and then we'd had business questions, and then we'd had a statement from the Secretary of State. That statement, either he would have missed the press conference altogether, or he would have asked the Speaker to curtail that.
So it was a logistics thing to get the message out first and allow them to then come to the chamber to give the announcement.
Yeah, so there's just logistical things to do that. But what I want to be really clear about, which would have happened previously and was suggested as well, or not by the Secretary of State, was that actually the Secretary of State do that somewhere, and sometimes the Speaker will make the suggestion to me as well, that the Secretary of State do that, and simultaneously we'd have a junior minister in the House giving the statement. I personally want the Secretary of State in the House giving the statement, and I think colleagues will want to interrogate the Secretary of State.
On that point, I don't see the relevance of the fact that they've got a press conference organised or that they've gone off to do a visit somewhere. The convention is the House has to be informed first. If the House has not been informed, under those circumstances, they should not hold the press conference, or they should not take questions after that visit. The fact that it is inconvenient for them is not relevant to the current convention. So we come back to the point, is the convention simply no longer relevant for purpose, in which case we should be looking at reform of that convention openly, or is it the case that they should not be doing any of these things because the House has to take precedence? Well,
look, I think just use your words carefully, because convention is not quite the same thing. Convention would be that, if we're looking at convention, that is custom and practice, that for many, many, many years, announcements go to the media and statements are made to the House later in the day, or when the House is then sitting, big announcements are made in recesses, they're made in conference recesses, many of them, at other times, and the balance of that is, so that would be a convention, which is a different thing from what you're talking about, which is the ministerial code. And there is a balance to be struck there about giving colleagues time to read full documents, which are published to the House first, and that was on that occasion as well, was published to the House first, published in time for colleagues to read through it, really consider the issues, and then come to the Secretary of State, who was there for 2 hours answering questions on it. So I don't see that as a breach of the code. I just don't. I see that as being forthcoming to Parliament. But of course, we are going to have media and comms plans around that mean we can get our messages out to the wider public.